So here we are, the Classic 500 is finally fully broken in. Now this was intended to be a 1,000 mile review, but once again with the bullet I got a bit carried away. It's actually now covered just short of 1,300 miles, and that's 1,300 pretty much trouble-free miles. Don't get me wrong, so far this bike has proved 100% reliable. The bedding in process, as far as I'm concerned, has gone extremely well. And first of all, I'd like to deal with that ever-present niggle that people have with these bikes: vibration. As I've explained in the last two videos, vibration has sort of changed as the engine has run in. Changed from a ridiculous bone-shaking ride in the first 50 miles or so, and then calming down to something much more civilised. All single-cylinder bikes vibrate, that's inherent in their DNA, and very probably the reason ladies like to ride big singles. And the Bullet is no better or worse than any other big single that I've ridden. It's a pretty typical 500cc one-lunger, as far as I'm concerned. The resonance in the engine has subtly changed as the miles have been loaded onto it. A sort of vibratory metamorphosis. And as it stands, the only noticeable vibration through the handlebars that I can detect now is between 60 and 65 miles an hour. After that, that vibration in the handlebars disappears and just restricts itself to the foot pegs, so you get a sort of a foot massage as you're riding along on the motorway. Now, if you want dead silky smooth motoring, you buy a multi-cylinder bike, 2, 3 or 4 cylinders, or you just stick with your car. This is a Bullet, the current iteration, the one and only model still alive today that represents those big British singles of the 50s and 60s. Complaining about the vibrations is completely missing the point. It's a bit like reviewing a motocrosser and then complaining that it's too tall and you can't reach the floor. Now, having said that, if anyone from Royal Enfield happens to watch this video, a classically styled motorcycle that looks very much like the Bullet with the 650 twin engine fitted would, in my opinion, take the motorcycle world by storm, representing the best of both worlds. I'll save my pennies up and keep a space in the garage just in case. The Bullet is a bike that can be hustled but not unduly hurried. It's not a cafe racer, and if you try to treat it like one, it will do its best to do as you've asked, but it would be akin to taking a faithful old cart horse to the Grand National and then thrashing the living daylights out of it in an effort to win. You definitely wouldn't win, you'd just be guilty of abuse. The Bullet, in my opinion, is not a bike for the inexperienced rider. The rider needs to be in tune with the bike, in tune with the engine and gearbox. Only then will the Bullet reward the rider with a truly sublime motorcycling experience. Having experience now of 2 Royal Enfield motorcycles, I've come to the conclusion that, with the possible exception of Suzuki, Royal Enfield make the best gearboxes in the business. The Interceptor's gearbox is fantastic, but the Bullet's gearbox is even better. I've hashed a gear change twice in 1,300 miles, including during the running period. It's a very soft, positive gearbox that requires absolutely no effort to change gear, but still gives a very positive, audible feedback. The rear suspension has now settled in. Initially I slackened it off onto a softer preload. Over time that became too soft, so I've now set it midway. And I don't envisage that there's going to be any need to swap this suspension. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's anything special about it. What I'm saying is it's well up to par for the capabilities and performance of this bike. What limitations it may have are well and truly taken care of by the sprung seat and relatively low tyre pressures. These things, combined with a very well thought out sit-up and beg riding position, capture a stately, uber comfortable ride. Something that often seems to be elusive on motorcycles these days, even motorcycles costing 4 or 5 times the amount that the Bullet costs. And in some ways it sort of makes dynamic electronic self-adjusting suspension systems seem a bit silly. Right, the chain. I've heard a number of complaints about the chain on this bike, about it stretching prematurely and tight spots appearing very early in its life. I've cleaned it twice and lubricated it 4 times while I've had it, and as it stands at the moment there's no sign of stretch, it doesn't need adjusting, and there are no tight spots. I'm not entirely sure what people are doing to achieve the problems that they're having. Now, the snatchy throttle response at low speed, yes, that is a bit annoying. Now, I don't know whether it has actually calmed down on this bike or whether I've just adapted to it, but it doesn't seem as bad as it was when I first got it. Certainly nowhere near as bad as it is on the Triumph Bonneville models, but I can't help wondering how they got the fueling so right on the Interceptor, yet left this as it is. Personally, I don't consider that it's bad enough to warrant a booster plug or anything else similar, but only time will tell. We'll see how it goes. The Bullet does grab attention wherever you go, and it surprises me just how many people know the history of this bike. Yeah, you still get the occasional person asking you what year it is and congratulating you on a wonderful restoration job, just like you do with the Triumph Bonnevilles. But you seem to get more people approaching you who know exactly what the Indian Bullet is. And I think this is a true measure of the Bullet's fame. After all, it is the longest continuous running motorcycle model ever produced in the world, anywhere in the world, by the oldest motorcycle manufacturer that still operates today. Now, I don't want to cover any old ground with this bike. The previous 2 reviews have told you just about everything you need to know about it. There's just a couple of little issues to cover. I know the Indian nation is very proud of the Royal Enfield brand, and quite rightly so. The build quality, certainly of the Interceptor and the Continental GT 650s, is, in my opinion, pretty much on par with anything Japanese or European. It's obvious that for these new models, Royal Enfield took quality control by the scruff of the neck and gave it a really good shake. Hopefully, that's where it will remain. But they didn't extend that treatment to the humble Bullet, which I think is a real shame. This is the model that allowed Royal Enfield to attain the status that it currently has. And there is, I'm sorry to say, a clear lack of pride and care in the way that the General Assembly staff have put these machines together. I'm still waiting for the warranty claim to come through on that damaged paintwork on the left-hand side panel, a fault that should never have left the factory floor in the first place. And I also regret to report that MotoGB's response to this, despite the fact that they have authorised the replacement, is one of complete apathy and lack of customer care. Seriously, I do believe that if I didn't ring them back, that would be the last I ever heard of it. Neither MotoGB or the dealer I bought the bike from have made any effort whatsoever to keep me updated on the status of the claim. Now, the other thing is, on the overrun whilst decelerating, ever since I got the bike, there's been an annoying rattle. It sounded to me like there was a piece of tinware loose, the front mudguard or something associated with it. And since I got the bike, I've had several attempts to pinpoint what the problem was. It turned out that it was a fitting associated with the engine that's situated underneath the fuel tank. On the left hand side at the front, it was actually contacting the tank. Sorting it out was a very simple matter of just putting some gentle pressure on it so there was enough clearance between the two parts. But again, Just like the ABS light that wasn't working when I got the bike. How did it get out of the factory like that? How did it get past a PDI like that? I sincerely hope that Royal Enfield are putting this kind of behaviour behind them now. Dealerships and importers, on the other hand, are another matter. And the only advice that I can really give is don't buy a Royal Enfield unless you're capable of maintaining it yourself. Actually, I think that advice pertains to motorcycling in general. Now, I walked into Royal Enfield ownership with open eyes. I was sort of expecting something like this, both with the Interceptor and the Bullet, although the new 650 twins obviously are much less of a concern. The question is though, do I regret buying the Bullet? Absolutely not. Despite its foibles, which for a seasoned biker are hurdles that are fairly easily overcome, the Royal Enfield Bullet is the motorcycling icon. As I've said in the past, it's the reason I got into bikes, and in some ways it's its imperfections that make it the perfect bike. Once again, thank you so much for watching this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate the time that you people put aside every week to watch my videos. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell to make sure that YouTube informs you whenever I upload a new video. Now, I am aware that there have been some glitches in this system and some people have not been getting the notifications when I've uploaded videos, but hopefully YouTube will sort that out in due course. I will of course be back next week, so until then, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.